I don't know where Jimmy's gone. Under the bushes somewhere. I see he snatched one of my... Oh, there he is. The sausage dog. I see he snatched one of my slippers, look. And he's digging out. Look at that. That funny little sausage. Anyway, hello. Today I'd like to take a look at this, which is another of these desert DPM smocks, but it's more to the badging that I'm interested in with this one, rather than the smock itself, although I'll show you the label, which is thus: Smock Combat Windproof Desert Disruptive Pattern. And well, this one's interesting because it belonged to someone who was obviously in 2-9 Commando Regiment, Royal Artillery. And so what they are is that they're highly trained, a highly trained readiness, as they call it, commando unit within the Royal Artillery, and they specialise in amphibious operations and mountain and cold weather extreme environments, which is awesome, man. And they're part of the UK Commando Force and provide artillery support and gunnery observation. Well, they're based in Plymouth. This is an older jacket, I can tell, because this Pegasus is an older one. It's not the Pegasus, it's an Eagle, sorry. The later jackets would have now a Pegasus. That's the commando course that this chap's passed. He's obviously passed P Company as well, although I think when you pass the commando course, you don't have to do the full P Company. You just have to do a series of parachute jumps, because obviously you've already passed the fitness test. And of course this tactical recognition flash, TRF, is for the Royal Artillery. So this is, as it's brand new, I mean, I don't think it's ever been worn. This is just an awesome piece of kit that is in my collection. I'm just very happy to have it in it, governor. But they are well-made jackets, these. Sweet! I mean, I've done reviews before of the jacket, so I'm not going to tire you with that, but just to say that they are very well made, and if you're into outdoor bushcrafting or something, you can very much use these as windproofs. It's a cheap option to buy them. My uncle would have been very interested in this, because my uncle was in the Royal Artillery during the World War II, and basically he was in a division called the 4th West Lancashire Regiment, volunteers, and he went off to all sorts of different places. He went to Heraklion. Look at that! Look at what are you? You're going to have to go, mate, because you're going to be eating it, innit? You're going to be nibbling that later. But he went to Heraklion. Yeah, I think it's in Crete, and he witnessed a German parachute drop, which was absolute insanity, because of course they were just mostly shot before they even hit the ground. They had no chance, poor lads. But I mean, I guess it's war, so that's that. But then my uncle went to Tobruk with the 8th Army, and well, he was part of the 8th Army, as I say. He was in the 4th West Lancs. He was in the 4th West Lancs Royal Artillery. And when I asked him why he joined the artillery, he said because he'd seen what had happened to the infantrymen in World War One, or he remembered what had happened to them, and so he said he preferred to be behind the lines. But in his case, it wasn't so good for him, because he was actually captured. That's Jim Timber. He was actually captured at Tobruk by Italians, and they weren't too kind to him. They were brutal, in actual fact. They used to push the British captured prisoners of war along the streets with their rifle butts. They were brutal. But he eventually ended up in Stalag IV-B in Germany, near Dresden, which is ironically not that far from where I live now, on the Polish border with Germany. And he said to me that the Germans were wonderful. The German people, if you treated them with respect, then they would treat you with respect. And in Stalag IV-B was one of the largest prison of war camps for the Allies in Germany. It's still there, I think. There's parts. It's the camp's not there, obviously, but there is a monument. I think I've never been, which is bizarre. But in a way, I don't want to go, because I just think it belongs to my uncle. My uncle Alan Gleave, his name was. He was he was a gunner Alan Gleave. He was very, very witty fellow, very, very humorous, and I think Spike Milligan was another gunner in the Royal Artillery, and I think perhaps they shared the same sort of humour, because my uncle reminded me with his humour very much of Spike Milligan. By the way, if you don't know who Spike Milligan is, he was a famous comic, a British comic in on radio and television and film even, and he was very, very funny. I thought he was anyway. But my Uncle Alan would have loved this if he could have been alive to see this. He had a good life though. He died aged 93, so it was a long while ago now though, mind you, a decade and more ago. But he was a good bloke. He was my uncle. I liked him. Well, I loved him. He looked after me, very much so. And he lost his wife very early on in his marriage, and he had to bring up 3 children, which are all dead now. Sadly, they've all gone. I don't know what the Gleave curse is, but no, they've all gone. But I know he'd have loved this jacket, and so there it is. So hats off to my uncle. You know, salute you, sir. Bless you. Gunner Alan Gleave. But no, Royal Artillery, that's that patch, that's that there flash. Anyway, thanks ever so much for watching. I really appreciate it, as always. And well, what can I say? If you've got this far, you're nuts!